My child, come closer. Not with effort, not with striving, just with your breath, the way it is right now. Let the noise soften. Let the edges of your thoughts grow quiet. There is nothing you need to fix in this moment, nothing you need to prove. This is an invitation, gentle and unforced, like light entering a room at dawn. I am here, and I have been here, even in the moments you thought you were alone. You have carried more than you speak about. You have shown up in ways no one applauded. You have given patience where it was not returned, kindness where it was not understood, faithfulness where it was not noticed. And still, you kept going. Still, you opened your heart again. That matters. It always has. I see the weight you set down quietly at the end of long days. I see the questions you never voiced out loud. I see the love you offered without certainty of being met. This moment is not rushed. It is not loud. It is intentional. I am asking you to rest here for a breath, because what is about to be spoken cannot be heard through hurry or doubt. It must be received with the heart open, even if it trembles, especially if it trembles. You are safe here. You are known here. And there is something I wish to say to you, something rarely spoken, but deeply true. Let your shoulders lower. Let your spirit lean in. This message is for you, and it arrives wrapped in gratitude. My beloved, listen carefully now. Not because this is heavy, but because it is tender. Not because it demands you, but because it honors you. The words you are about to receive are not common, and they are not symbolic. They are personal. They are intentional. They are true. I say to you, clearly and without hesitation, thank you, my child. You did not imagine this. You did not earn it through perfection. You did not force it through effort. This thank you rises from what you offered when no one was watching, from the way you chose love over bitterness, honesty over ease, perseverance over retreat. You kept your heart open in a world that taught you to armor it. You continued to hope when the evidence felt thin. You tried again after disappointment taught you it might hurt. That is not small. That is not invisible. This message arrives now because you are at a quiet crossroads. You may not have named it, but you have felt it. A subtle fatigue. A wondering if it mattered. A question forming beneath the surface. Did any of this make a difference? I am answering you before the question hardens into doubt. I am speaking before weariness convinces you to withdraw. This is not an ending. It is recognition. And recognition has the power to restore what exhaustion tried to steal. I am thanking you not only for what you did, but for who you remain. For choosing integrity when shortcuts whispered. For choosing gentleness when sharpness would have been easier. For staying present when disappearing felt safer. You did not always feel strong. Yet you stayed. You did not always feel certain, yet you listened for truth. You did not always feel supported, yet you continued to give what you could. That quiet faithfulness carries weight. Let this gratitude settle into you. Do not rush past it. Do not deflect it with humility that hides. Receive it as breath, as warmth, as light resting on your shoulders. This thank you is not a conclusion, and it is not a reward. It is an acknowledgement meant to steady you for what comes next. You are seen. You are valued. And this moment, right now, is uniquely timed to remind you that your presence, your persistence, your heart have mattered more than you know. My precious one, there is something you have wondered in the quiet places of your heart. even if you never shaped it into words. You wondered if the unseen parts of your journey mattered, if the nights when you held yourself together in silence were counted, if the tears you wiped away before anyone noticed were known. I'm answering that wondering now, gently and completely. Nothing you carried was invisible to me. Nothing you endured was overlooked. Nothing you offered from sincerity was ever lost. I saw you when you kept going without encouragement, when the room stayed quiet after you gave your best, when you showed patience that felt costly and received little in return. I saw the restraint it took to stay kind. I saw the courage it took to stay honest. I saw the moments you questioned yourself, not because you lacked strength, but because you cared deeply about doing what was right. Even your uncertainty did not distance you from me. It drew me closer. You did not fail because you felt tired. You did not fall short because you needed rest. You did not disappoint me because you hesitated or doubted. Those were not weaknesses to be ashamed of. They were signs that you were human, tender, and invested. You felt deeply because your heart was open. You struggled because you were trying. You paused because you were listening for truth rather than rushing toward noise. I know the difference. There were sacrifices you never announced. Choices you made quietly that protected others while costing you comfort. Words you swallowed to keep peace. Boundaries you held even when they made you feel alone. I was there in each of those moments. I felt the weight with you. And I want you to hear this clearly now. Nothing was wasted. Not the effort. Not the waiting. Not the love that seemed to disappear into empty space. Everything you gave shaped you, and it mattered beyond what you could see. You are more known than you realize. I know the version of you the world never met. The one who kept showing up after disappointment. The one who wrestled with questions late at night. The one who hoped quietly, even when hope felt fragile. I know how you tried to be strong for others while setting your own needs aside. I know how you wondered if you were asking for too much just by wanting to be understood. You were not. Let me lift something from you now. You do not need to carry the belief that you were forgotten. You do not need to hold the fear that your faithfulness went unnoticed. You do not need to measure your worth by outcomes you could not control. I see beyond results. I see the heart that offered itself honestly. And that is why I say thank you. Not lightly. Not vaguely. Personally. You are not behind. You are not invisible. You are not foolish for caring. You are someone who stayed present in moments that asked a lot of you. Someone who chose integrity when compromise beckoned. Someone who remained open when closing off would have been easier. Let that truth settle into you now like warmth, returning to both hands. You are seen. You are known. And you have always mattered to me, even in the moments you doubted it most. My child, there comes a moment that does not announce itself with noise or spectacle, yet everything quietly changes because of it. This is that moment. You are standing at a threshold, even if your feet feel tired and your heart feels unsure. A threshold is not a demand. It is an invitation. One foot still remembers what has been, and the other hesitates before what could be. I am here with you in this in-between space, where endings soften and beginnings wait patiently. What makes this moment sacred is not urgency, but awareness. You are becoming aware that you cannot return to unknowing. You have felt the stirring, the gentle pressure within that says something is shifting. You may have tried to ignore it, telling yourself it was imagination or fatigue, but it has remained. That is because this moment is not about forcing change. It is about recognizing that something within you is ready to move from survival into intention. You have lived for a long time responding, enduring, adapting. You have learned how to carry weight quietly. But now, a different kind of clarity is approaching. Not loud answers, not sudden certainty, just a steady inner knowing that you are meant to walk forward differently. This thank you received is part of that clarity. It is not closure. It is confirmation. It tells you that what you have been doing mattered, and that you do not need to abandon your heart to move ahead. Standing at a threshold can feel unsettling. You may fear that choosing forward means dismissing the past. It does not. You may worry that stepping ahead requires confidence you do not yet feel. It does not. You may believe that if you hesitate, you will miss your chance. That is not true. This moment is patient. It waits for your willingness, not your perfection. It waits for your honesty, not your certainty. There is a difference between drifting and pausing. Drifting happens when you avoid choice. Pausing happens when you listen. You have been pausing. You have been listening more than you realize. That is why this moment feels charged. Not with pressure, but with meaning. You are being asked, softly, whether you will carry forward the truth of being seen, or whether you will retreat back into proving yourself again. If you turn away now, nothing breaks. I will still be with you, but you will feel the dull ache of knowing you silenced something true. If you step forward, even gently, even imperfectly, you will feel alignment return. Not instantly, not dramatically, but steadily, like breath finding rhythm again. This is not about bravery, as the world defines it. It is about trust. Trusting that you do not need to earn permission to exist fully. You are allowed to receive what is offered here. You are allowed to let acknowledgement become fuel rather than pressure. You are allowed to let gratitude steady you instead of making you anxious about maintaining it. This threshold asks only one thing of you: honesty about where you are and openness to where you are being led. Do not rush your answer. Stand here with me for a moment longer. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the quiet strength that has been growing in you without applause. This moment is not slipping away. It is holding space for you. And when you are ready, even if readiness looks like a whisper rather than a declaration, you may step forward knowing this truth. You are not crossing alone, and you are not crossing unrecognized. My beloved, before you take another step, there is kindness in naming what has been standing in your way. Not to judge it, not to wrestle with it, simply to see it clearly, so it no longer hides in shadow and speaks louder than truth. Barriers lose much of their power when they are named with compassion instead of fear. I am not disappointed in these obstacles. I understand how they formed. I was with you when they began. One of the quiet barriers has been doubt. Not the loud kind that argues, but the subtle kind that whispers. The kind that asks if you misunderstood, if you overestimated your impact, if you imagined meaning where there was none. This doubt did not come because you are weak. It came because you cared deeply and waited a long time. When answers take time, doubt tries to fill the silence. But doubt is not wisdom, and it is not a measure of your worth. It is simply a voice that grew tired of waiting. Another barrier has been fear, especially the fear of receiving. You learned early how to give, how to contribute, how to show up. But receiving acknowledgement feels vulnerable. It exposes you. It removes the shield of invisibility you learned to survive behind. Somewhere along the way, humility became hiding, and modesty became a way to disappear. That was never what humility was meant to be. You do not dishonor me by accepting what is offered. You honor truth by allowing it in. There has also been hesitation shaped by past disappointment. Moments when you stepped forward before and were met with misunderstanding, dismissal, or silence. Those moments taught you to pause longer than you needed to. They taught you to second-guess your instincts. They taught you that clarity could be costly. I understand why you became careful. Caution helped you survive. But caution does not need to lead you now. It has served its purpose. It does not get to define your future. External voices have played their part too. Voices that minimized your contributions. Voices that benefited from your quietness. Voices that spoke over you or around you, but rarely to you. Over time, those voices became internal echoes. You began to carry them even when they were no longer present. But hear me clearly now. Those voices were never authorities over your value. They spoke from limitation, not truth. Their inability to see you does not mean you were unseen. There is one more barrier, and it is the most delicate. It is the belief that struggle is your identity. That because life required resilience from you, you must always be resilient, always strong, always enduring. You forgot that resilience was something you practiced, not something you are. You are not defined by how much you can carry. You are defined by the heart that carried it. You are allowed to rest without losing yourself. You are allowed to be acknowledged without becoming arrogant. You are allowed to step forward without betraying who you were. None of these barriers are you. They are experiences you moved through. They are responses you learned. They are protections you adopted. And now, gently, you are being invited to loosen your grip on them. Not all at once. Not forcefully. Just enough to let light pass through the cracks. I am not asking you to erase your past or deny what shaped you. I am asking you to see clearly what no longer needs to lead. Doubt is not your voice. Fear is not your guide. Hesitation is not your truth. You are more than the barriers you adapted to. And as you stand here, acknowledged and thanked, you can begin to let those barriers rest. They are no longer required where you are going. My child, when gratitude is spoken from me to you, it is never empty and never ornamental. It is not a polite gesture. It is a revealing. And what it reveals now is a promise, not of circumstance, but of presence. Not of ease, but of peace that is deeper than effort. I want you to understand what opens when you allow this thank you to reach the center of you. The promise is not that life will suddenly smooth itself into simplicity. The promise is that you will no longer walk it feeling unseen. There is a difference, and it changes everything. When you know you are acknowledged, your steps become steadier. When you know you are valued, your breath becomes fuller. When you know your faithfulness mattered, the future feels less like a test and more like a path. Peace is part of this promise. Not the fragile kind that depends on everything going right, but the grounded kind that stays even when things are unfinished. It is the peace of knowing you do not need to prove your worth again. The peace of releasing the internal tally of effort versus outcome. The peace of trusting that your sincerity has already spoken on your behalf. This peace does not rush you. It meets you where you are and walks with you at your pace. There is also restoration in this promise. Not a return to who you were before you were tired, but a renewal of who you are becoming now that you are wiser. You have been shaped by endurance, but you are not meant to live forever in survival. Restoration does not erase your story. It integrates it. It allows strength and softness to coexist again. It allows joy to re-enter without guilt. It allows hope to return without naivety. Clarity is another part of what is being revealed. Not answers to every question, but a clearer sense of what matters. When you know you are thanked, you stop chasing validation that was never yours to earn. You begin to recognize where your energy belongs and where it does not. You start choosing alignment over approval. That clarity feels like light through morning mist. Gradual, gentle, certain. This promise is rooted in relationship, not reward. I am not thanking you to place a burden on you to maintain a standard. I am thanking you to deepen connection. Gratitude for me is an opening, not an expectation. It invites you closer, not higher. It draws you into communion, not comparison. You do not owe me anything in return for this acknowledgement. You are not being set up for a transaction. You are being welcomed into rest. Forward movement will come, but it will be different now. It will not be fueled by anxiety or fear of falling behind. It will be guided by peace as an inner compass. When something aligns, you will feel steadiness rather than pressure. When something is not yours to carry, you will sense it sooner and release it more easily. This is not because you became stronger overnight, but because you became more attuned to truth. Let this promise settle without trying to define it too tightly. It does not need your management. It needs your openness. You do not have to grasp it. Just receive it. Like warmth spreading slowly through your chest. Like breath deepening without instruction. Like light remaining even when clouds pass. You were thanked because you showed up with sincerity. And what flows from that is not demand, but companionship. Not pressure, but peace. Not striving, but trust. This is the promise being revealed now. You will not walk unseen again, and you will not walk alone. My beloved, there is a moment that follows recognition, and it is quieter than you expect. It is not celebration. It is release. When you are finally acknowledged, something within you realizes it no longer has to hold so tightly. This is that moment. A moment of sacred exchange, where you are invited to lay down what has grown heavy, not because it was wrong to carry, but because it no longer needs to be carried alone. You have been holding expectations that were never meant to rest entirely on you. The expectation to always be strong. To always be available, to always respond with grace even when you were running low. You carried responsibility for outcomes that depended on many hands, not just yours. You took on the work of interpretation, wondering how others would respond, whether your efforts would be enough, whether your presence would finally be understood. This constant weighing has tired your spirit more than you realize. I am not asking you to surrender your care or your commitment. I'm asking you to surrender the burden of self-judgment, the belief that you should have done more, known sooner, or felt differently. That belief has kept you vigilant, but not at peace. It has whispered that rest must be earned and that relief is temporary. That whisper is not truth. It is habit. And habits can be released. In this sacred exchange, you are invited to place down your guilt, even the subtle kind that hides beneath responsibility. Guilt for needing space. Guilt for saying no. Guilt for not meeting every expectation placed upon you. Let it loosen now. Guilt was never meant to motivate your life. It was never meant to be your companion. You are allowed to live guided by clarity rather than pressure. As you release, something is given in return. Not as payment, but as provision. Assurance begins to settle where anxiety once lived. Not loud reassurance, but steady knowing. The kind that does not argue with your thoughts, but quietly outlasts them. You receive permission to breathe without scanning for what might go wrong next. You receive rest that does not require collapse. Rest that can exist even while you are moving. There is also trust being placed within you. Trust in your discernment. Trust in your timing. Trust in your capacity to listen and respond rather than react. You do not need to grasp for control to stay safe. You can allow life to unfold without bracing against it. This trust is not naivety. It is alignment. It grows as you practice releasing what you were never meant to manage. Let go of the need to be understood by everyone. Let go of the urge to explain yourself into safety. Let go of the internal negotiation that asks how much of you is acceptable. You do not need to edit your sincerity anymore. In exchange, receive wholeness, the feeling of being internally gathered rather than scattered, the sense that you can be present without performing. This exchange is ongoing, not dramatic. You may return to it many times. Each time you notice tension rising, you can choose release again. Each time you feel the old weight settling on your shoulders, you can remember that you are not required to carry it all. I am with you in this surrender, not watching from a distance, but meeting you in the very act of letting go. You are not losing anything essential by releasing. You are making space for what sustains you. This is the sacred exchange. You offer what has grown heavy, and you receive what makes you whole. And in that exchange, your spirit begins to breathe freely again. My child, when truth settles into the heart, it does not remain abstract. It begins to shape how you move through ordinary days. Alignment is not about dramatic change or visible transformation. It is about small, faithful adjustments that honor what you now know. Knowing you are thanked, knowing you are seen, invites you to live differently, not louder, but truer. You begin by listening more closely to your inner rhythm. There is a pace at which your spirit breathes easily, and a pace that leaves you strained. Alignment means you no longer ignore that difference. You start noticing when you are rushing out of fear rather than responding with intention. You allow yourself to slow down without interpreting it as failure. Time becomes something you steward gently instead of something that chases you. Your energy becomes more precious to you, not guarded by walls, but guided by discernment. You learn that not every request deserves an immediate yes, and not every opportunity is meant for you. This is not withdrawal. It is wisdom. You choose where to invest your attention, because you now understand that presence is one of the most meaningful gifts you carry. You offer it where it brings life, not where it drains it. Relationships begin to feel different as well. You notice where you were overextending to be accepted, and you gently step back. You notice where honesty was being traded for harmony, and you begin to speak with calm clarity. This does not make you harder. It makes you more whole. You allow connection to grow from authenticity rather than effort. You stop chasing understanding and start allowing resonance to form naturally. Alignment also shows itself in rest. Real rest. Not escape, not distraction, but restoration. You allow moments of stillness without filling them immediately. You give your mind permission to settle. You let silence become a companion rather than something to avoid. In these moments, you remember that your value is not measured by output. You are worthy even when you are simply being. Your decisions begin to carry a different tone. Less urgency, less fear of missing out, more grounded confidence. You may still feel uncertainty, but it no longer controls you. You ask quieter questions now. Does this bring peace or tension? Does this align with who I am becoming? Does this invite me to expand or to shrink? Peace becomes your internal compass, not as an emotion you chase, but as a signal you respect. Even challenges feel different when alignment is present. They are no longer proof that you are off track. They become invitations to respond with integrity. You stop interpreting difficulty as disapproval. You understand that growth often unfolds alongside resistance. And because you are not striving for validation, you can remain steady even when outcomes are unclear. You practice alignment in simple ways. By choosing rest when you are tired. By choosing honesty when it feels vulnerable. By choosing kindness without self-erasure. By choosing patience with yourself as you learn. These choices may seem small, but they accumulate into a life that feels coherent rather than scattered. I am not asking you to perfect this. Alignment is not rigid. It is responsive. Some days you will forget. Some days old habits will resurface. That does not mean you have failed. It means you are human and learning. Each moment offers a new opportunity to return to what feels true. Living aligned is not about impressing anyone, including me. It is about honoring the gratitude you received by allowing it to shape your days. When you live this way, your life becomes quieter on the surface and deeper at the core. And in that depth, you will find a steadiness that carries you forward with grace, one honest step at a time. My beloved, everything you have heard has been an invitation, not a conclusion. Now comes the choice, and it is quieter than you imagined. It does not require a dramatic vow or a perfect posture. It asks only for consent. Consent to receive what has already been offered. Consent to respond from truth rather than habit. Consent to let gratitude become a living current within you instead of a moment you pass through and forget. The choice is not between right and wrong. It is between staying guarded and becoming open. Between continuing to brace yourself and allowing yourself to be held. You have learned how to survive with vigilance. You are now being invited to live with trust. That shift begins not with action, but with words spoken inwardly, words that align your heart with what is already true. Let your response rise gently. You do not need to announce it to the world. Speak it where it matters most. Say within yourself that you receive this acknowledgement without shrinking. Say that you accept being seen without apologizing. Say that you allow gratitude to steady you rather than make you anxious about maintaining it. These words are not performance. They are alignment. When spoken with sincerity, they recalibrate the way you stand within your own life. You may say, even now, that you choose to believe you are known. That you choose to release the habit of proving. That you choose to trust the quiet wisdom growing inside you. Let these declarations form slowly, like breath finding rhythm. They are not commands you force upon yourself. They are agreements you make with truth. There is power in naming what you are choosing. When you say that you choose peace as your compass, you begin to notice it guiding you. When you say that you choose integrity over approval, your decisions gain clarity. When you say that you choose presence over pressure, your days soften at the edges. These words do not change you instantly, but they orient you steadily. They remind you who you are becoming when old patterns try to reclaim you. You can also speak release. You can say that you release the belief that you are behind. That you release the need to be everything to everyone. That you release the weight of expectations that were never yours to carry. Each release creates space. And in that space, trust grows quietly, without force. Do not be surprised if resistance arises as you make this choice. Old habits do not dissolve without protest. Doubt may return and ask if you are being unrealistic. Fear may whisper that openness is risky. When that happens, return to your declarations. Not to argue with yourself or to anchor yourself. You are not trying to convince. You are remembering. This choice is not made once. It is made again and again in small moments. When you pause instead of rushing. When you listen instead of reacting. When you rest instead of pushing. Each time you choose alignment, you reinforce the truth that you are allowed to live from a place of being thanked, not endlessly tested. I am not watching this choice with judgment. I am witnessing it with affection. Your willingness matters more than your certainty. Your honesty matters more than your confidence. You do not need to get it right to be held. You need only to be present. So choose now, gently and sincerely. Choose to receive. Choose to trust. Choose to walk forward without armor you no longer need. Let your inner voice begin to speak in harmony with truth. And when you speak, even in a whisper, know that you are not speaking into emptiness. You are responding to love that has already reached for you and said, with clarity and care, "Thank you. My child, rest here for a moment longer." Let everything settle without trying to carry it forward too quickly. There is no urgency now. Only gentleness. What has been spoken does not need to be held tightly to remain true. It will stay with you, weaving itself into your days in quiet ways you may only recognize later. You were never mistaken to hope. You were never foolish to care. You were never unseen in the moments you felt most alone. Even when your strength felt thin, your sincerity remained, and that sincerity has always mattered. You do not need to revisit the past with regret. It has already been gathered, understood, and honored. As you move forward, you will not always feel certain, but you will feel steadier. You will notice a softer confidence rising, one that does not announce itself, but supports you from within. You will begin to trust your own breath again, your own timing, your own capacity to listen and respond with truth. When old doubts surface, they will no longer define you. They will simply pass through, unable to take root where gratitude has already settled. Remember this moment not as a demand, but as a blessing. A moment where acknowledgement met you exactly as you are. When you forget, return to stillness. When you grow tired, return to breathe. When you wonder if it mattered, return to this truth. You were seen. You were known. You were thanked. I walk with you beyond these words, into the ordinary and the unknown alike. You are not required to be more than you are. You are invited to be fully yourself, without apology, without fear. Let peace guide you. Let trust steady you. Let love remain your foundation. And as a seal over your heart, hear it once more, clearly and gently, not as an echo, but as a living truth that remains with you. God says, "Thank you, my child, for you receive a thank you from God."